This is the biography of William Shakespeare. On April 23rd in 1564, Shakespeare was born in Stratford-on-Avon. He's the son of John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. It is believed that he attended Edward IV Grammar School, where he would have studied Latin, Greek, and the Roman dramatists. This is where he began to develop his skills as a writer and a poet and a playwright. He married Anne Hathaway, who is significantly older than him, about 7 years. And in 1583, he had his first daughter, Susanna. 2 years later came Judith and her twin brother. The twin brother died at a young age. Between the period of 1585 to 1594, there's not much known about Shakespeare or his whereabouts, what he did, other than during the plague of June 1592 and April 1594 is when his first two published poems came out. It was Venus and Adonis and The Rape of Lucrece. In 1594, he also joined Lord Chamberlain's company. The plague is known for having wiped out a significant portion of the population. There were several outbreaks of the plague throughout Shakespeare's life, including another one that began in 1603. In 1599, Shakespeare joined Chamberlain's men. This was the most successful and widely favorited performing group at that time. They played in the Globe, which was a massive stadium where people of all classes could be entertained by the plays put on by the Chamberlain's men. At the bottom, there were floor seats, or where people would stand, and that was very cheap for people to go. That's where the lower class would watch. And then there was another floor, which would be middle class, and then an even higher floor, and that would be where the upper class would sit and watch. It got exceedingly more expensive the higher you went. At that time, people believed that they would be best remembered for their work in poetry rather than plays, which could account for the fact that Mr. Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets in the work that he published, the Sonnets of Shakespeare, in 1609. The sonnets can be broken into two different categories. Numbers 1 through 126 appear to address a loved friend, a very good friend that he had. And 127 through 152 are addressing a lady, some lover that he may have pined over or may just be writing about. Shakespeare is known for inventing a lot of words. There's anywhere from 15,000 to 3,000 that people have credited him with creating, including these ones. And actually, originally I created a word search, but now that I'm doing the presentation like this, so you wanna Shakespeare wrote over 30 plays, including histories, tragedies, and comedies, and romances in his later career, which is essentially a combination of tragedies and comedies. They're also known as tragicomedies. Shakespeare was one of the first to do this, and he was the first to perfect the art. Shakespeare died on April 23rd in 1616 on his 52nd birthday. He's buried in Stratford-on-Avon, where he was born.
My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare.
That was a reading of Sonnet 130. It's about the woman that he seems to always write about in the latter half of his poems, or sonnets. In this sonnet, it's interesting because he seems to insult and compliment the woman at the same time by saying, even though she doesn't sound as good as music, he'd rather hear her talk, or that her lips aren't nearly as red as they could be, but he loves them anyway. So that's an interesting sonnet by William Shakespeare. This is for your entertainment. Can you pick up an envelope for me?
Switching on my style like the pieces of my pieces. Each is such a wonder with a plethora of features and pathetically predictable. You're thinking human biting through the transatlantic feature and subject among the creatures. The art is the building, it's a castle of a boss. Better parliament deposited, I'm feeling it's a feeling than the plague. And never caught a color when I'm all of all. I'm pretty full of business while you're switching the features. You rap fast, you do. Yes, you rap fast, it's true. Now let's see how you rap versus things 1 and 2. Pajamas, man will put you up and hit you with the man and read it.